Hello, happy Saturday. How's it going, guys and gals? I'm pretty ready to sew this shirt. I actually been sewing some tests on my knit because I feel like I've promised big time on the whole no serger, no zigzag thing, and then I was like, oh god, what if it doesn't work? It always does, but what if it doesn't? And it's gonna be totally fine. What's the worst that can happen, right? Hi, Malin. How's it going? So, big news. I have 2 new samples of the bag you guys designed, and I recorded a video. I still need to edit it and stuff like that. I wanted it to be as short a video as possible because it's kind of a big bag with lots of features. You guys were not messing around. So it's still kind of a long video. That's why I knew I needed to do it pretty quick. Hi, Carol. Hi, Janice. How's it going? So here is the 80% size one. It's in a wax cotton, which feels like wax cotton, not like the kind you like, but it feels kind of weird. It was so see-through. I thought I'd have fun with the fabric, and so you can actually see my fabric through it. But I've made 2. I made this one in the video, the 80% size, so the whole thing fits in the camera, which is kind of nice. And it also is like just to see how big it is too, and it's laying on top of the full size version here, which is pretty big. Ooh, sorry, it's so dark. Hi Eva, how's it going? Angela, how's it going? I keep hooking the strap on the corner. Let me lighten it up a little bit. Well, let me show you this one and then I'll lighten it up. So this is how I did the webbing here. I have the reinforced side strap, which I explained why I do that. Back pocket's still there. I finally added the handle you guys wanted. And then this is the zippered flap right here. So it has a little zippered pocket. And on the inside, I actually have a whole another one of these bags inside. One of the very first samples we did. It's got the laptop sleeve. Mine's padded on the back and in the sleeve. It's got the water bottle sleeve. I don't know how mine ended up on that side of the bag. That's so funny. Hi, Kevin. Hey, Maribel. Karen. How's it going, you guys? And then it still has your EpiPen pocket or whatever precious item you want to put in there, the cord, and, you know, all your device charging junk, and still room in the bag there. And it closes right there, so no binding. 2 pockets on the outside for phone or eyeglass case, and then zippered pockets on the front, plus this little guy here. So the same bag, but this is the full-size one, which will hold a full-size laptop. Sewn identically. It has all the exact same things. And this one also has the padding on the back and on the laptop. Does it? Oh, I think it feels like I forgot the padding on that. Oh, no, I think I used the lighter weight stuff. That's what it is. It looks really good. And this one is the top that we designed that kind of hugs the bag so that you can, this is the bane of my existence, sewing bags. I sewed bags for a long time, you guys know that. And the bane of my existence is the strap getting caught on the corner of my table. Do you know how dangerous that is? When you're zipping along and then all of a sudden your bag goes room. So the strap's pretty long. And then I made these straps, and I show you how to do that in the video too. Hi, Louise. All the pockets. Oh my God, you guys. Yeah, this is, you guys better make this bag. I don't ever ask you guys to do anything. I'm really nice about things. I never expect things from you, but I swear if some of you don't make this bag, I'm not making you guys a free pattern again. No, I'm just teasing. You know I will. So anyway, this flap is super fun to sew and really easy. I was kind of surprised. Even when I went to approach it, I was like, how do I sew this again? I don't remember. You could add the zipper too, the zippered pocket if you wanted. But yeah, so you don't have to do all the pockets. You don't have to do the laptop sleeve. You can still put these pockets on there. I tell you how to do that. If you want a more like, you know, less gathered, you could probably leave the elastic off of this and the flap and maybe cinch it a different way, maybe with a draw cord or something. So, hi Claire. Yeah, so I've been really, oh, sorry, that is so dark. Why don't you guys shout at me? I'll just brighten this up for a second before we get to sewing our, whoa. This was why I didn't sew this one on camera. It's super hard to do some fabrics on here. But yeah, you can see. So I really hope some of you guys make it, but it turned out great. This bag looks really big, but when it's on, it feels pretty good. And I took a picture of myself wearing both. It's a dark purple. It's like a wine color. Maybe my camera shows it better. They look totally different. Isn't that funny? Same cameras. Someday we'll have nice cameras, you guys, right? Someday. It would make the biggest difference. Isn't that funny? All right, so yeah, and here's the other one right on top of it. So you can see this is the front seam right here and here. And it's right there. So 80%, I felt like, I know that's a weird number. I don't think any number is weird though. But I know that 80% is probably kind of, oh, I have a little tuck there, is a little kind of, doesn't roll off the tongue. But I feel like 75 was a little too small. And, you know, when you start reducing things, you are also reducing everything, right? So you have to adjust for this, and you have to leave the water bottle sleeve the same pattern. That's the only difference. Is I just sewed it as is just to see what would happen. So, and it's kind of fun that I used the fabric. It's so dark, or so bright now. I called it my glass bag. It's glass, see-through. So anyway, I have all the pattern pieces done and ready. I just need to put text on them. I did it all and then I didn't like it, so I'm doing it again. Yeah, so anyway, but we're here to sew some knits today. Let me not hurt your eyeballs. And I'm pretty excited about that too. Let's see, let's tone that way down. How about that? Is that better? Does anyone else do this that you guys watch? Are they constantly adjusting their cameras like me? What am I doing wrong? Or am I just picky? All right, so we are making this shirt. It is for all genders, lots of sizes. And I'm not going to use my sewing machine, or I'm not going to use my sewing machine. I'm just going to glue it together. I'm not going to use a serger or a zigzag. I'm just going to use my trusty old Phoenix here and sew it together with a single needle straight stitch. The only thing I've done is put a ballpoint needle in. I own 3 ballpoint needles for this machine. So now I'm down to 2. You can see how often I sew knits. I sometimes don't even swap out the needle, which isn't a good idea. If you don't want to get runs in your knits, it's good to put the ballpoint needle in there, because the point theoretically is going to push the fibers aside rather than piercing them. And when you pierce them, obviously that's when you get those runs in your t-shirts. You know, we all have those. Well, I do. I always have like little runs on the t-shirts across the front where my belly, like where I lean against tables and stuff like that. Or maybe you walked through that doorway and it snagged you and you didn't see anything, and then like 2 more washings later, there's a little hole. So I have, Louise. Yeah, and so I have some sample fabric here, and I've been playing around with it. I put a slightly longer stitch length because, you know, because of the knit. So knits, it's not just you. Knits tend to get sucked down below the machine, and that's a pet peeve for me as well. It's good to like start like really far onto the fabric, not really far, but like not on the edge, so that you have a little bit of purchase behind the presser foot. But there's also a little drag when you sew knits on your regular machine. I'm not changing my presser foot or feed dogs or any of that. I adjusted my tension a tiny bit. My tension's been a little bit off ever since we sewed the jean skirt, which I'm wearing, by the way. So that's just common, you know. My tension's not off in a bad way. I'm not worried about tension. Like I will just adjust it as I go. It's fine. But yeah, anyway, I did a slightly longer stitch length, and now watch. I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to pull my fabric. I'm just going to sew. And so this seam right here is the one I just did. You can see there's quite, let me get it away from there. Let's do it right down the middle so you can really see. You can see without even stretching it, there's actually quite a bit of stretch in there, but I'm going to gently pull it as I sew, just a little bit. and it'll give it a lot more. And those little wrinkles, they're gonna calm down. They're not gonna be too bad once you've sewn and washed it, you know. And also you got to remember that this is like I'm stitching on the top of the fabric. That's not how it'll be. It'll be like a seam, right? It'll be your side seam, which you can see there's no puckers on that one, but that's not the one that I stretched. So let me stretch one for you. I'm not trying to advocate this type of sewing. I'm just trying to reassure that person out there that doesn't have a serger. And there's a lot of machines out there that don't even have zigzag stitches. I've had a few of those myself. So if you're in that boat, I just really wanted to prove that a lot of people don't like sewing their knits with zigzag, which is unfortunate because it's actually a really great way to sew knits. And some machines have a stretch stitch, and it looks kind of like a funny misshapen zigzag stitch, almost like a lightning bolt, you know. And some machines have a stretch stitch that go, you know, like a stitch forward and then 2 stitches back, or wait, is it 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back? So there's that. But when you hear people sewing things together with a zigzag stitch, don't picture like a buttonhole or a really obvious. It can be a really lazy zigzag. It's just enough that it gives it stretch. And so, and then if you're worried that you're going to see that on the outside of the garment and the seam, you will not. It's kind of cool. I totally recommend trying it. I actually thought, like, the fact that it doesn't show made it so cool that I always liked doing it, just because I thought it was so funny that you can't even see. All right, so let me cut all these. I have some trials on there you might not be able to see, but so I'm gonna gently stretch this. And again, this is the cross grain of the fabric, which isn't even where I'm probably gonna be sewing it. But see, look, there's a little bit of puckering. It's not even puckering, but tell me, doesn't your serger look a tiny bit like this anyway? So we're going to be actually sewing most of our seams vertically, right along the length grain and against the bulk of the stretch. And so it's even more invisible. So it's going to be a-okay. Yeah, Louise, right? I know the stretch stitches take so long. Is that why you use your zigzag? I mean, it's cool that they're there and everything, but I get a little impatient. I am just as guilty of that as anybody. All right, so this is the Friday Pattern Company pattern. It's a free pattern. We're kicking off Me Made May with a free pattern that is great for all genders and all sizes. And let's see, I don't have the instructions here, but there's a size chart, and the size chart goes down to a 33. Oh boy, it's a little bright for your little eyeballs, isn't it? 33-inch or 84-centimeter chest to 54-inch, 137-centimeter chest. I was looking for a size on here that is even smaller than this, and I was like, oh, it doesn't even include that, so it's gonna be loose on that person. So right, Genevieve? The zigzag works really good. Yeah. These are just all measurements here. Lots of measurements. I love measurements. All right. If you're printing out the PDF, you can, if you're doing the print at home version, there's layers, and you can just click the box of the sizes you want to print, and it really calms down all the craziness. So just watch the cutting video. I thought the cutting video is actually really great. There was a lot of information in there. We went over a lot of stuff. So, all right. So I don't have the instructions in front of me, but I feel pretty good. Oh, I was like, where's my neckband? It's this gray thing right here. Okay, there's my sleeves, there's my front and my back. So we're gonna do the side seams first. And I can tell my front and back apart because the front has the V. I don't really need anything else. This is such a pajama shirt, you guys. This is like, I was kind of excited about going out of my comfort zone, and now I'm like, this isn't really me, you know? I cut out the large. My bust is about a 38, 39. I think this will be a little big on me. So, all right, so it's got 5/8 inch seams, which I meant to trim down to 3/8 when we cut it out, and I totally forgot. So I'm just gonna do my back tack as normal. And I give you some tips on as far as like the timing goes, when you go to cut something out, if it's curly edges like this, cut that sucker out as soon as you can. All right. The curling will be minimal if you can do it right away. And when I pull, it'll curl a little bit. So I'm just trying to get my edges nice and lined up while I gently pull. And making sure, it's kind of slipping. I shortened mine 4 inches, and I think that's the only thing I did, right? I showed you guys how to do a full bicep adjustment, right? Hi, Eliza, how's it going? And happy Me Made May, you guys. Pretty exciting. I love that it's in my birthday month. All right, so there's my first seam, and you can see a little bit of texture with the stitches, and we'll just pull apart and see how it looks on the inside, or the outside, I mean. And that looks totally fine, in my opinion. If this ends up being a pajama shirt, anything I sew today is going to be totally fine, right? But we're going for this as if it's not a jammy shirt. Oh, this is the problem with knits. You're like, where's the corner? Well, it rolled up onto itself. No wonder you can't find it. I'm going to trim down my seam allowances after I cut them, or after I sew them, because I just don't like all that in there. But you know, you can, I'm kind of playing with stitching them down, you know. Theoretically, like, if it's the same stitch, I'm thinking that it will be fine. When I curl like this, I'm just, you know, I'm pulling this layer right here and trying to get this little edge to be at the same spot while still looking at my seam allowance because it's rolling away from the indicator. All right, so now we have our side seams. There's no shoulders. So yeah, I'm kind of toying with, what if I trim this down to 3/8 and then stitch it down? Like, oh yeah, Angela, my tradition will stand. I just don't know if I'm doing it with the stream, if you guys are interested. Someone said they're interested in the Myosotis dress. You know what, Genevieve? I'm not a fan of doing that. And this is a raglan. So you actually have the sleeve is in one fell swoop. That is the armhole right there, because there's no shoulder seams, and it's not a cap sleeve. But you can do it that way. It's totally fine. But I think you'll find, like, eventually on certain garments, especially wovens and things that have a closer armhole, the shirt will fit better and sit better. Fit better and like hang better and kind of feel better under the underarm if you do your side seams, your shoulders, your underarm of your sleeve, and then set the sleeve in. I know that's kind of a little bit of a pain, but when you keep that armhole like in the circle that it is, it kind of keeps that sleeve more separate as like a functioning part of the body. Kind of works better. I don't really know the physics behind it. And if you think about it the other way, like if you do this underarm all in one, what you're doing is you're strengthening this long seam, right? And so then you kind of attach, I don't know how to describe it. It just works a little better. The sleeve functions a little better when the sleeve, you know, is set on in the circle. So I just trimmed that down to a little bit, get rid of all this excess here. I was going to do it on my cutting mat, but this works. I actually put it under the iron camera and everything. I almost cut my shirt. It was about to get fitted. I really can cut in a straight line, I promise. Don't judge me. There we go. You know, I'm kind of like, I'm always up for being the experiment for all of us, so I'm actually going to top stitch these side seams down. It's a loose shirt. Hey, Walter. Even for a raglan, well, the raglan, you don't set it in. I mean, like, Yeah. It's always better to treat the pattern pieces separately from one another and set them on as their own unit. It also makes, if you need to go back and change something, a little bit easier because you're only having to remove that one thing. I've never done this before. This is an experiment that I'm top stitching my side seams down. Kind of gives it a more sporty look. Secures my raw edges in there. Why not? You should work in the gardens. The weeds are watching. I know, this time of year, man. It's like we'll weed and then we're like, oh, I thought we did that last weekend. You know. I'm just pushing them to the back. I will be your guinea pig and experiment and see how it goes. So all those folks, this is a total aside, but all those folks that were telling me, because I actually talked to a couple people about putting the seam down the center of a mask, and because I was like, I wonder if that's okay, like you're putting those holes right over your face, and like the likelihood I know is really low, but it was just something I was like wondering about, you know, it kind of was on my mind, so I just didn't put a seam down the center. But some folks would say, I had like 3 people say, oh, but I'm pushing the seams to the side. And I didn't understand why they thought that was covering up the holes, because it doesn't. The holes are still right there. No matter what, if you pull this apart, there's the holes. If you put it to the side, there's the holes. So I wasn't sure if I was missing something with what they meant by that. And I'm not a disease expert, but I actually find that kind of thinking really, really interesting. And it really reminded me of my days of working at a water sports company where the bulk of what we did was make apparel for kayakers, rescue workers, and military. And they were waterproof, breathable garments. And because we were using fabrics that were branded by Gore-Tex, they had to go through their testing facility. So because you can't put out a garment using a branded fabric like that without getting it approved by them. It's this whole process. It's kind of a bummer, but really essential for the product success. And they had like, when I worked there, they had 30 years experience doing this. So, but it was always changing. And we would send out our garments to be tested, things we, had spent 9 months developing, testing, we had dunk tanks, we had sponsored paddlers, we had all kinds of resources available to us. It would come back sometimes, and it was rare, but some of our garments would fail, and then we would get the garment back, and then they would show us the results, and it was shocking how much moisture could pass through. Not a dunk tank. I'm not talking about putting it, like dipping it in water. I'm talking about a room that's spraying water or showering or whatever and putting it in different conditions. So that's why I kind of nerd out on that stuff. I think it's really interesting and fascinating to talk about, and I'm sure nothing I come up with in my head is correct, So it's so interesting, No, I'm not doing any zigzagging. I'm just top stitching. I'm going to do an experiment for you guys because I'm leaving everything raw. There's my stellar trim job there. I'm leaving all my edges raw. I'm just using my single needle machine, but look at that. So, oh, well, that's good, Eliza. I mean, maybe I'm not so paranoid as I thought. Yeah, I know, right? Holes, exactly. But the thing is, I know that for people who wear glasses, having the mask close to the face is really essential. And if it makes it so someone wears one over not wearing one, I think that's good too. So, and I feel like people will probably still continue to wear them, and I hope they do as we kind of transition. But, at the same time, like, a lot of people probably just stop wearing them. Yeah, look at that. I mean, let's be honest, you guys. If this was a serger, it would stretch this much. All right. What am I doing now? Oh, sleeves. Do I want to do my hem right now? I honestly don't. I'm kind of like, how am I gonna do the hem? Because I'm not using a zigzag. But maybe I will just do 2 rows there as well. I kind of want to iron this right now. This is so pajama. What is wrong with me in picking fabrics that end up looking like pajama fabric, you know? Remember that time I made the shirt version of the, what was it? Was it the Rita shirt dress or the Rita shirt dress? I made a shirt, right? And it looked like pajamas. It ended up being a pajama top. All right. I actually had to wind optic white thread on a bobbin today. I never use real white thread. I always use off-white. I cheat all the time. Look at this. Isn't this cool though? Your bobbin sits right there. Did you know that? I found this out by accident. I don't know why they do that, because most people using cones are using them on a serger. But it is pretty nifty. When I discovered that, I was like, what the heck? I would have been using that a long time ago. All right, did I put the pink in? Yeah. This was one of those rare moments when I put the fabric in my cart at Hearts Fabric, and they always ask you, do you want us to throw in a matching spool of thread? And I was like, why, yes, I do. And it totally matches perfectly. All right, so now I'm going to do my sleeves. And I do the underarm first, because we're setting them in. Same thing. I have my little hem shape. What, is this the right? Yeah, that's the right. So I can see the right side of the fabric. You guys probably can't. So. Right, Megan? I know. Yeah, I'm just using regular thread. The only thing I've done is put in a ballpoint needle. I have 3 for my machine. Now I have 2. This fabric is it feels more like a bamboo knit or interlock. I can hear it. Ah, thanks for subscribing, Maeve. Welcome. From You Made May. Yay. This is it's more like a bubblegum pink. It's like, I think I shared it with you guys the other day. I have the receipt somewhere. It was just one of those things, like, it popped up on the screen when I had the rainbows in, and I was like, yep, that works, and I just bought it. Yeah, that's so smart, Karen. It really is. Hi, Patty. Patty, I finally responded to your Patreon messages. I'm so sorry. I was like nose to the grindstone yesterday. It's fussy for me, you guys, even to just line up your knits and stuff. So I am always lining it on the seam line there. Let's see here. It's kind of nice. I was just listening to a book all day yesterday, and then I recorded my video. It was perfect. Yeah, it's kind of a, I mean, look at it. Look how different it is in the both cameras. Oh, yeah, I know. How's your daughter's toe? Okay, you guys, these scissors. Let's just talk about these. I can't remember who this is. Karen Buckley? Something like that? Wait. I can't remember what it is. Look at the handles. I didn't even know they did this. I kept going, why do I feel like I can't grab something? They're so soft and light. So if you are someone who is constantly holding scissors to do a lot of clipping and just close-up work, maybe hand stitching, maybe hand quilting, I don't really know. These are great, but They're super sharp and the edge is serrated, so theoretically your fabric won't fray as much. But I have to say, they're not good at, like, if I want to like clip into the corner of a canvas bag, I can't do it. They're too, I can't push down hard enough because look at this. Isn't this awesome though? They are so lightweight, I can't even feel them. Super, super sharp too. And the tips, they say they're points, but they're not. Look, they're actually blunt. So they're really awesome. They're amazing, but they are not for this, I don't think. And I'll just use them until I do something bad to them. Hello, Sydney. Welcome, friend. All right, so now we have our underarm seam and our sleeve. And I'm going to turn my shirt inside out because I'm going to sew on the sleeve side. And so let's see, what is this? This is my back, right? There's no V-neck in there. Yep, that's my back. And so let's see. I think this is the right sleeve. Right? Yeah, this is the correct sleeve, I should say. So this is the wrong side of my fabric. This is the right side of the fabric, wrong side of the fabric, and I'm just gonna start at the top of one armhole and go all the way down. And see, this is such a great illustration of when you need to line up your seam on the seam line. Because you see, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't line up your cut edges like this. Because when you start sewing your seam, because remember it's 5/8 of an inch right there, this is what'll happen. You'll have this huge jog. There's your neckline right there, and then it would drop down. So this is a great illustration. I'll have to try and remember this the next time I illustrate this for a video, to use a raglan. So you want to always line your seams up at the seam allowance there. It can be really deceptive on where that is too, so just, have a ruler handy or measure it. So I always get started on there, and then now I'm going to line up everything. This is kind of a huge armhole. I feel like this is going to be pretty big on me. All right, let's see here. So here's my other side, and it's going to go to the top as well, but I'm just going to focus on my underarm right here. And I'm going to push my seam allowance for the shirt to the front. I'm not going to top stitch the underarm on the sleeve. That feels a little bit overkill, and the bamboo is always a little bit more finicky. So that's just my opinion. So, aw, she blamed you. That sounds awful. So one thing that's really cool about raglans, and if you're new to sewing and you're like been avoiding things with sleeves, raglans don't typically have ease in them like a set-in sleeve. So maybe you tried sewing a set-in sleeve and you were like, nope, that isn't for me. I do not like this. This is so much work. Stick to raglans for a bit if you want some sleeved garments, because there's no ease in them, and they're really easy to sew because you don't have to do the closed circle either. You can just sew along this long seam. You can have a lot of fun with raglans too. I'm just getting this lined up like this, and then I'll hold it. I'm not pulling as much on this since it's all on this diagonal. Knits don't technically have a bias, but this is also not a really high stress stretching point. Not on this type of shirt. It can be though. That is a gigantic seam allowance. I did a couple tests before I started, like, okay, do I need to do the pink thread when I get to the armhole or the white thread doing this color blocking? I forgot how to do the underarm seam, so it was decided for me. I don't want to switch back and forth. 2, aw. Oh, I'll bet your seniors like, wait a minute, why did they get one? I was thinking like, you know, this because we have one too, and I thought that was really cool. Oh no, see, exactly. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the seniors were really robbed this year, and that I feel like this is going to start a trend where every year from now on, there's going to be yard signs, and you're going to see like kindergartners and junior high going to high school, and I'm not a fan of that. I'll just say it, you guys. Okay. All right, so let's see how my seam looks. So you can see it. I'll just show you how it's looking there. Can you kind of see? Want me to put the autofocus on? Oh, there. That's a good angle to really exaggerate the puckers. They're not really puckers, honestly. You know, you can see where the needle's going down in the fabric is kind of creating that little divot. So let's see how it looks on this side here. There you go. Looks good. All right, let me leave it inside out so I can do my other sleeve. Taking my sweet time doing this, aren't I? I know someone's here probably for the V-neck. Because that is definitely the spot where a lot of drama can happen. I've had plenty of drama at the center of a V-neck before. And I haven't done one of these in years, so I'm just going to prepare you guys. You're going to see me doing it green. All right, so I always get it started, and then I start lining things up. I just use the machine as kind of like an extra helping hand. You could argue that if I just pin this, it would be a little bit faster, but at the same time, you take the time to do the pin, so it's about the same, and I'm not worried about getting it lined up. It's not a set-in sleeve, so there's no ease. And if you're serging this and you're like, dang it, I really wanted someone to serge this together, except for that top stitching on the side seams, you're just going to do the same thing, but you're going to actually get to trim off that extra as you run it through your serger. So just make sure you use the 5/8 inch mark on your serger. Or find out where that's at, you know, draw it on your fabric for a little ways. Don't use any pins. Can't stress that enough with sergers. I know people say it and then people do it and they get away with it for a while. But honestly, it's just a really good habit to get into, to just not use pins unless you absolutely have to. Or try the clips or something, because those blades are $35 minimum. And it just could be dangerous. You might hurt your machine or yourself. I sound like a mom, but it's true. Just because you haven't had it happen doesn't mean it won't. It's not an if, but a when situation, you know? Yep, I'm just pulling the fabric a little bit. Hey, Barbara, how's it going? I'm just pulling it a little bit. I'll show you my seams in just a second. Do I look awkward right now or what? All right, yeah, so I'm just lining it up at that 5/8 inch mark. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure, like this, I feel like this shirt is such a great inclusive shirt as far as being for any gender and for most sizes. And I thought, you know, let's not leave out the people that don't have sergers, you know? We'll sew it old school style. So I am gently pulling it. I'm doing an experiment on my side seams where I actually did top stitch them as well. You can see a little bit of my puckers, but I mean, honestly, look at that. No popping. So yeah, right? They get hidden in there, Sydney, exactly. Yeah, so I'm not pulling really on the sleeve so much because it's pretty loose fitting, and I know it looks a little snug on, but they put a size smaller on him. I showed you guys how to do a full bicep adjustment as well. So if you want to size down and then do the full bicep adjustment, you could probably do that. Kind of get that closer fitting. Yeah, that's so smart, Genevieve. Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to do something like that. Yeah, I do the exact same thing. Totally agree with you. Just like set yourself up. Just kind of put it on there. And even pre-sew it so you have the stitch lines. I think that's good too. All right, did I trim that? Nope. This bamboo wants to pucker a little bit more. I made my stitch length a tiny bit longer. I used a ballpoint needle, and that's the only changes I've done. I'm barely pulling a little, but honestly, I think the places I'm going to pull for sure are the sleeve hem and the hem of the shirt. The vertical seam isn't really a concern. The side seams, that's not a concern really for pop stitches. Unless your armhole is so tight, then you'd have that issue no matter what. I wish I would have done this when we cut this out. I meant to. There we go. All right, so now we have, let's see how my pajama top looks like. Dual feed. No, I don't have that. It's just a regular straight stitch. Team Rainbow. It looks kind of sporty, huh? Okay, so I'm going to hem my sleeve right now. So I'm going to have to deal with that right now because, and then I'm going to switch back to the white. So let's see here. So yeah, so here's the stretchiness is totally fine. Yeah. I could maybe top stitch this armhole, but I don't know. Which side would you top stitch it? I hope my Raglan looks like his, where it's the kind that has the saddle right there on the shoulder. There's a lot of ways to do Raglans, and I really like it when it looks kind of like that narrow strip right there. I love that kind of Raglan. So let's see. I'm going to play around a little bit with some hem ideas. I did a little bit there. You don't usually see rolled hems and knits. That's kind of like, if you do, it's usually from the 70s or something. I don't think it's very, I don't think it's very deep. It's more like a V round neck. You know what I mean? Look how high that is on him. And I don't have the picture of the other model here to be able to see, but it's not too low. Do it on the red part. Wait, what did I say? Do what? Okay, so let's see here. This is the cross grain, so this would be my sleeve grain line. So let's see. Yeah, I was kind of like pretending like this was an armhole right here. Let's get rid of that. So let's just stitch this once. I'm going to stitch it one more time. I'm not sure this will actually work, but it'd be better if I had a double needle. Yeah, look at that. It actually looks like a cover stitch. And I could get that edge a little closer. I guess I'll try it. I mean, the sleeve's loose enough. My hesitation is that this isn't how a cover stitch functions. Usually you have the bobbin thread and the top threads, it's like it's not a lock stitch. Like this is a lock stitch, so it doesn't have that continuous thread and the stretching capability. It's nice when we can make our knits look like store-bought, but honestly, I'm not like 100% in that camp. I used to be, like when I was trying to become a better sewist, my goal, and I think a lot of us feel this way, is to make my garments not be detectable by muggles that it is a home sewn garment, right? You're trying to make it look like I bought this off the rack. That's how good I am. You know, that kind of feeling, or at least people, you know, you really want to show off. Like it's like that weird conundrum. You want people to know you made it, but at the same time you're like, if are they asking me that I made this because it looks homemade, you know? So there's that weird like juxtaposition of that. But at the same time, trying to make your home sewn things look like off the rack things is a really great skill building, you know, phase to be in. And I really got a lot out of that, like constantly looking at all my ready to wear garments in the closet, or my roommates, or my husbands, my boyfriends, my friends, being at a campfire and just being like, can I see how the hem is? You know, I was that person. I'm sure one of you is that person too. And so, you know, you kind of gain the skills, and then that's when you also start going, why can't I imitate this? And you realize, oh, there's machines in the world that kind of do stuff like that, right? Yeah, right, Louise? You know, you're like, oh, did you make that? You're like, why are you asking? You know, this right here, like this fabric combo, I would think like someone might ask me on this one. But at the same time, I mean, you would see this, something like this off the rack as well, right? It's usually the fabric choice is really the dead giveaway, in my opinion, because, you know, you use the wrong fabric or something that you wouldn't actually get to see at ready to wear, right? Yes, Sydney. Oh, I've bought garments. Thanks, Megan. Did you see I pinned it? I'd wink, but I am incapable of that. So I think it's a really great phase to be in to make your garments look like ready to wear. And if you want to stay in that phase, awesome, because I think that's really great. I think it's really good at building your skills. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's 100% necessary. Most people who don't sew have no clue the sewing differences between ready to wear and homemade. You could zigzag this hem and only another sewist might know, but at the same time, more and more things are being found in the store that have unique finishes on them. So it could be, you could have found that in the store as well. So I say you do what you want and don't worry about what you think people think about it, and be proud that it's homemade no matter what, you know? So the reason I started that talk is that I've seen a lot over the years, because I've also fallen in this camp as well, is trying to imitate cover stitch, which is the 2 parallel rows of stitching that you find on a lot of knits. It's kind of that hallmark of that you've made it, right? As a home sewist, when you're sewing knits, I feel that way. I felt like, yeah, my stuff looks like the stuff off the rack now, right? But at the same time, when you try and imitate that with not the proper machinery, you might end up ruining your garment, because doing this, right, this little test proves that I can actually do it with some stretch, but, you know, there's a little bit of fallout in that it's, you know, got a little more texture than normal. It looks really drastic on this camera, which is great. So you can see kind of, that's worst case scenario. It doesn't look that bad in person, in my opinion. It doesn't, because there's a lot more shadows on the camera right there. But if you don't, other part of the problem for me with this is that 2 parallel rows of stitches look more parallel when each stitch is directly across from itself. So sometimes that makes it look a little messy, and so that's kind of a giveaway. So I say you do what you want. You're really probably not going to think about it. And whoever said the rolled hem thing, that's awesome too. You can just cut the edge and let it roll up. Just like this. It's cute, you know, so. Yeah, exactly, Sydney. Exactly. You know, Etsy and like the homemade movement has definitely put a bite in retail sales. So they've had to make their stuff look more folky or homemade. Remember I told you that story where when I first started making products for sale and my friend said they don't sell because they look too good. And that's like the last thing you want to hear as someone who's working really hard day in, day out to make your stuff look as professional as possible. And then they're like, oh, they're not selling because they look that way. It's kind of heartbreaking. And I just had to stick with my guns and be like, no, I wouldn't buy something that looked not well made, you know. And there was a ton of stuff in that store that wasn't well made and it fell apart, you know. So, you know, like, do what you want. Don't worry about it. How often do you really think about some of the things you've done in your sewing, you know? So, yeah, that's true. What does the bobbin look like? So I did it from this side and that was my bobbin, right? What side did I do this from? I did it from this side, right? Okay. Let's do it again to make sure. Here's the other advantage if you don't have a cover stitch and you're kind of faking it. At least you can do it from the wrong side. Because you can't do that with cover stitch. You have to do it from the right side. And, oof. That learning curve is steep. Alright. The bottom looks pretty good. It actually looks almost as good as, it looks as good as the top. I'm tempted kind of to, yeah, it's okay. Alright, let's just do it. So this is my back, right? All right, so I'm just making sure I push my seam allowance towards the back. Oh, but I pressed it towards the front to reduce the bulk of the underarm. So I'm gonna press my seam allowance towards the front. Remember, we add that little shape of the hem so we won't have pulling there either. Because I'm leaving my edge raw, I think this is great that I get to do it from the underside because now I can really get on that edge. The other good thing about adding that little bit of a hem flare, the hem wants to stay put when I fold it up. It kind of nestles in there. It's kind of nice. I'm a little bit exaggerating the stretch. Hopefully it'll calm down. Let's get rid of some of these threads and this juncture right here. And we'll do another row. Yeah, totally, Sydney. Yeah, see, you've never looked before. That's a good point. Like, it's like now you're looking, right? So just remember that other people aren't looking, and they're not looking at your homemades as if you didn't use the right machinery. I think the things that are dead giveaways when it's homemade as far as machinery goes can be knits and like athletic knits and jeans, you know. These scissors are so sharp that I'm scared I'm going to cut my fabric. They're so, like, you can get really close to the, like, I think I can cut my skin. Look at that. All right, there's my sleeve. I'll iron it at the end and we'll see if we can calm that down, but that looks pretty good. Not bad. I think that could be a little stretchier, but it's a looser sleeve too. So I didn't pull very much. Maybe I could have pulled more. My experiments are your gain. All right, so I have folded up and then now I'm gonna fold it over here. The reason I really wanted to be able to do it from the wrong side is so I could be right up against that cut edge so I don't have to trim it afterward, because I feel like I would be at risk to cut my fabric. I'm a klutz at all things, you know. All right, one more row. And then we're going to do our V-neck. I know we're all eager to do that. I feel like I'm done right now because I'm doing the hem. Oh my gosh, okay. All right. I could do a pink hem, but that would show how not straight sewing I am, you know? All right, so I have a gray collar. I wanted to top stitch the neckline when I was done with this, but now I'm wondering, I guess I could switch colors. I'll just see how it goes. Oh, my bobbin was sitting on top of that. Do you really need the arm sleeves? Your son caught a little lizard? Did it lose its tail yet? Or do that stinky smell? I was always catching lizards when I was a kid, and I really hated it when they gave off that weird smell, you know, when they're trying to get rid of you. And I don't like the little tail either. I like the little lizard. Do I really need the arm seams? You mean the hems? You don't, but it looks more polished. And part of my exercise today is to show, like, you know, you don't need a serger or zigzag and you can still get a pretty polished looking t-shirt. So, yeah, you don't have to. All right, so let's look at this. Let's get my one of my new markers out. I'm gonna go get the yellow. I'll be right back. Or maybe I'll use my Choco liner. Nah, I'm gonna use yellow. Where is it? Aw, what kind of birds? Did I miss that? My mom loves parrots. Thankfully, she doesn't have one because I really wouldn't. You know, they live for like a million years. Where's my ruler? And she has a long way to go, but I have a feeling I would inherit a parrot. So this is a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So we're going to cut some of that off first. I'm just going to draw the seam allowance on the neckline. You guys, this is my first time ever using markers like this, so I'm a little nervous. So the key with doing a V-neck is to get the point of your seam directly below the point of the cut edge as well, right? So you're trying to make sure that your V is still in the center of your garment and it's not doing this, right? And the thing is, like, there's going to be a little of that anyway, because when you come down one side and go up the other, you run the risk of doing that anyway. So just be kind to yourself, you know. Like, when it's washed a few times, it might calm down a little bit, but at the same time, some of this is kind of irreversible once it happens. So I'm going to trim my seam allowance down, but I'm actually going to back stitch on all my sleeves here a little bit lower. So when I go and trim that off, I won't lose my seam. It won't start pulling apart. So, because I'm going to sew this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm sorry, 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm going to cut like 1/4 inch off. 1/4 inch is fine though. Maybe I would do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It's a lot easier to sew something like this with smaller seam allowance. Where's those sharp little buggers? There. This is one of the worst things I do when I thread my needle. I wrap the thread around my hand, so then when I go to pull my hand out, it always unthreads the needle. And I've never been able to break myself of that dumb habit. Do you guys do anything like that? What if I just hemmed it? Wait, instead of, I'm not adding binding. I'm going to do a collar. You could hem it, but you can't hem a V-neck. So you could on a scoop, for sure. I'm getting rid of all these little threads here. They don't even match, so that's kind of annoying. Did I get them all? Here we go. I thought I missed one. I'm so worried I'm going to cut my fabric. All right, so let's trim off the seam allowances. This is one chunky label. Let's see, I think I'm going to stick with 3/8. I can always trim it. I don't really want to, but I will. So I'm going to trim off 1/4 inch around the whole collar and get my seam allowance down. And I'm going to do the neckline as well. You know what? There's an easier way. I'll just, I could use my rotary knife and mat, but I'll just do this. Cut off 1/2 inch. You need to make sure you put back the center back notch. You'll need that, which is just the center of the neckband. The center front is going to be these ends right here. You don't have to trim down your seam allowance if you want, but it is a lot easier to sew these little finicky things when you have a smaller seam allowance, especially like a collar and a collar stand. And then this V-neck. If this were just a scoop, I would probably just go for it and then trim it later. But the V-neck definitely is a different thing. All right, so I'm going to fold this in half and just stitch down the ends for now. Get rid of these threads so they don't pop out. I'm not going to go around the perimeter because I don't want to inhibit the stretch. We'll just have to deal with the curliness. This fabric's a little different than what I'm using. This is more like a traditional t-shirt jersey, whereas those are more like an interlock. And the interlock is a lot stretchier. So, you hate collars? Yeah, so V-necks are kind of tricky to deal with then. If you want a finish, then yeah, it'd be really hard to hem it. Okay, so if you want, you can press this. Like with the iron, it won't stay very great, but you know. All right, and then now you're going to take your V and you're going to overlap them like this. Wait. It's so funny. Why am I getting confused? There we go. All right, so put it fold side up like this. And now overlap them to where you have these two folded edges are up. So it looks like you're wearing it. Yeah, you could do a facing, like a fake binding. But then I think she's kind of in the same boat if she doesn't want to have to do any like tricky sewing with the neckline. You could just make it into a scoop neck. All right, so see that? So that's my fold edge, right? And so this is raw and raw, 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 raw. Yeah, exactly. Louise is on it. And now I'm going to stitch it down in those same two spots I've already stitched. I'm keeping it really close to the edge. So now there is my collar. Get rid of all these threads, especially if you're going to serge this on. Those are hard to get out later. All right, so let's trim our seam allowance on this neckline, and I'm going to cut straight down into the V, just like that. That's the finished seam line. And I'm just going to cut this 1/4 inch off around the neck. You can see the interlock's so bouncy it won't stay in my scissors very well. Let's see if these will work better. They're just so tiny. But they really want to cut. You can get these in different sizes too. It feels like I'm about to cut over a pin. All right, I'm going to mark this center again because I'm about to cut off that notch. Sorry I didn't do this first, you guys. A better collar top for summer? But you said you don't want a collar. You mean just like a better, like a better neckline finish? And do you want knits, Megan? I'm being really careful just because I don't want to accidentally cut my shirt. So, and these scissors are really tiny and sharp. If you guys weren't watching, I would be done by now, like with the whole thing. That's what you guys do to me. Okay, so sometimes what I do is I just sew the center front first. You know what I mean? Like I just get that V-neck over with. And I just sew that little bit right here that I've marked. So I like to make sure that I'm going to get this little point right here, right there, right? So let's just look at it like this. And maybe even mark, you know, that this right here. So remember, let's just draw it on here so it's really visible for you guys. I don't know if this yellow will show up, but the seam juncture at the center front here is probably in a slightly different place than it looks, right? So here is that seam juncture, right? So it'll, oh, if with the, so they're asymmetrical. Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, okay. Thank you. I literally got these. I was kind of excited, and then I pulled them out of the package, and I didn't have my glasses on, so I walked up to my daughter, and I was like, I held the package up to her, and I was like, is there anything important on this? And she kind of read it all to me, and then I tossed the package away. So if that was on there, I missed it. You said they just did a line of stitching and let the fabric roll. Yeah, right? Exactly. You love deep V's, scoop, and some boat neck tees. Yeah, you might want to figure out a bias finish maybe on those deep V's if you don't want the collar. If we weren't watching, we would probably sew on a serger, probably. Just because it's fast and it trims the fabric as I go. You love that jersey. Which one? Love Notion's game day jersey. Oh, there you go. You bought them too, Beverly? Nancy's starting a trend. All right, so let me see here. I think there's really good instructions in the pattern for doing this. So here we go. Let's see. I've got my juncture there. And so this is what I like about putting that on there is I'm going to lay this out right sides together. Now I'm going to sew this side, and then I'm going to go back and sew the other side. So I have this juncture right there goes right there, like that. Kind of sink it in there. I'm kind of over exaggerating this. And now I'm gonna sew that on there. I'm even just gonna sew a little bit. I'm not even gonna go down into that V quite yet. Ooh, I kind of want to go from the other side though. Let's go from the other side. I kind of want to approach the V and just keep going. So that's what we'll do. One thing I feel like is really important with these is, and I'm really fussing with this. I'm sorry, you guys. It's been a long time. One thing I find really helpful is setting yourself up to succeed is really important, because the less you sew this and tear it out and do it again, the better. Tearing it out and sewing it again is probably not going to lead to a really great result. Oh, this is my problem, isn't it, Allison? I'm doing this. Or is it Allison that was giving me those tips? I'm doing it from the, I should be doing it from the shirt side. That's what it is. That's what it is. So yeah, I'm going to sew this from this side. I'm going to line that V up like that. I'm not even going to backstitch right now. I'm just going to kind of get a little bit of sewing on it. Like that. And then I'm going to pivot this side and do the same thing. I feel like I had a really good technique for this, and now I'm kind of faltering. Plus I don't have this this rolled edge, man. Oof. I'm not stretching right now. Now I'm going to continue. All right, I'm going to keep going now. Hopefully I positioned this so I don't have to pick up and start again. So here is the one weird thing about putting a knit collar. This is actually one of the many weird things about putting a knit collar. I'm looking right now for my center back. The stretch of this fabric to the shirt is kind of paramount on how much it stretches. You want to make sure that it stretches enough for how small they made the pattern piece. If they made it really short, what's the shirt we've made a few times? Oh, is it the Linden? You need to make sure that the ratio is right. So I checked it with the pattern, but I didn't do it much beyond that. I'm really hoping that this neckband, it just lays flat, and I'm not going to have to worry about it. But if this is not stretchy enough and they made it pretty small, oh, I just flipped that over. Did you see that? Oh my God. Then I'll have problems. And I'd have to stop, I'd have to take it out, and I'd probably have to recut this piece. And actually, it's kind of looking like that. I might have to do that, actually. You know what I mean? Ooh, you got a lot. You got a lot of patterns. Yeah, so see this? I have to stretch this in order to get it to fit. And if it has to stretch too much, it's not going to look that great. And it's feeling a little bit like that right now. Let's see. It'll end up pulling in the neckline and making it pucker too much. See that? How much I'm having to pull right now? Oof. I think I'm gonna make, ooh, what do you guys think? I should check this. I checked it with the stretch thingy, but it doesn't, that's not always foolproof because I'm using different fabrics from the neck, from the collar to the body. So, ooh, wow, 10, dang. I've got this very stretched. You see that? I'm gonna go get some more fabric. I'm going to add an inch on each side. Oof, I don't think I can fit this on my little cutting mat. I'll have to pin it on here. I haven't pinned something to fabric in a while. Alright, so I'm going to add an inch to each end, so a full 2 inches. Just like this. And I am kind of guesstimating, so I don't really have a formula for that. I used to know my formulas when I was a knit pattern drafter. But every fabric is different, and sometimes you just got to wing it. Unless it's your job, then you figure it out. Then put your center notch back in there. Trim off that extra seam allowance. All right, we're ready. You know, Megan, it can be pretty affordable to print there. Just kind of find the sweet spot where it starts tipping you into the shipping part of it. Yeah, the fabric. Exactly, Barbara. I hate figuring this out, honestly. I think it's such a mystery every time. Let's see how this was going to look. Oh, pretty good. I wanted to note that because I can't guarantee it for the next one. But we're going to be really gentle with taking out these stitches, and then hopefully our V will be just fine. I'm taking forever to do this. I'm sorry, you guys. But when it's been a while, I totally take my time. Okay, where did my new... I already threw away my new collar. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm sick of making masks. I did so many that I had to stop because I'm getting behind on other things that I have to get done. So I finished everything I had cut. I think I ended up by the end sewing almost 500, and I felt like, you know what? What was that? Oh, I saw that, Beverly. I sort of want to stitch this down. You know, maybe I'll just pin it. Why not? I'm just going to pin this little edge here so it stops flipping up. I'll probably hate that I did this, but you know. Yeah, I've heard that too, where people complain about the fabric. I'm like, yeah, you know. Actually, you guys, on my radio station yesterday or the day before, I heard a advertisement. Someone was sewing and selling masks locally. What's intense, Sydney? What'd I do? Cutting out the collar again? That's no big deal. Better to just do it now than just put this puppy on there and then it look really bad. You just need to teach him how to make a mask. Or show him the no-sew one. Have you seen that video that the Surgeon General did? Boy, he's dishy. I didn't know we had such a hunky Surgeon General. I'm going for like a specific pen in my little bowl here. Look at me using pens. All right, so that was a little bit easier to tell, huh? Wait. You gotta flip it over like this. See? Flip it. Line it all up. And I'm gonna stitch them together. Line up those corners to each other. Try and manage the threads here. You don't want to have to worry about it. Oh, sewing 500. Yeah, I mean, they weren't, you know, couture quality for sure. And my body really didn't like it. You know, Eliza, are you using the same fabric for your neckband as you are for the body? Because you might be okay. What's SG? Our SG is super cute, right? Oh, our Surgeon General. I know. I was like, who is this guy? How come I haven't known about this guy? I guess I always pictured some, you know, old white dude. Of course, right? Okay. Let's try this again. Oh, let me draw my seam allowance on here. So I have my juncture. Three-eighths. Three-eighths. All right. Juncture right there at the center. Ooh, these are... You know, the worst thing I did was buy all those different pins. All right. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'm going to do it like this. Oh, you guys, I'm just fussing too much on this. I was going to do it the way I would do it if you weren't watching. I would do this. But actually line up the shirt like this. I wish I would have drawn this. I don't know why I drew the seam allowance on the right side of the fabric. That wasn't a smart idea. If you do it on the back side, which is smarter, I actually have the stitch holes that I can use right now, so I won't draw it, but draw it on the wrong side. Don't do it on the right side. I don't know who that lady was. And what I like to do sometimes when I have these things that are shaped like this V, let's turn this right side out so I can sew from the inside of my garment so it's nice and flat and I don't accidentally catch it. All right, so I have my shirt here. I kind of like to make it so that this V-neck is relaxed like this, so that the neckline is in the shape that it's supposed to be, you know, like that. And then I line it up like that with my seam, like this seam, these cut edges right here lined up, and then I kind of relax this like this. And then I put that center down like that. And I'm just going to do a little bit on this side, and then I'm going to start it on the other side and do the whole thing. I just like to get some of this anchored right here. It's better than pinning for me, and then I can trust it. And so now I can pivot it like this. I'm so bad, Eva. I know. When I left yesterday, I was like, ooh, someone's going to need to clean in here before she starts streaming tomorrow. And I totally forgot when I got in here today, I was like, oh my God. It was so bad. I just had to laugh about it. All right, so I'm going to pull this little center to my center of the seam allowance. The shirt's kind of heavy. Let me see. Pull the center like this, like that. And now stretch this out like that. Yeah, it's when it gets kind of bad in here, the floor gets super slippery because of threads. And the rest of my studio is really, really clean. But right here, because I have all the cameras, the machines, all the things I need for sewing, a computer, it all has to be really close together. And it can get like just a tiny bit of mess is big. It's big. Okay, I'm going to put my shirt through the neckband like this. I thought you guys would appreciate that. I'm a pretty tidy person as far as my projects go, but in mid-project, man, I am everywhere, just like everybody else. All right, so this looks a lot better. There's a little less slack. I think that there's this weird balance you have to find, and every collar and every fabric is different. So what you're trying to do is get this collar to lay flat against the body, plus not ripple or look weird. And that's what I didn't see happening there. So this is, I'm barely, you know, having to stretch the collar, but I'm going to stretch all of it a little bit more since I'm single needling this. We are now back on track, you guys. Is there a pin right here? Yeah, there's one more. Pinning those edges together was good too. That was kind of helped it, you know. Oh, did I do a good enough tutorial, Barbara? Because I feel like I was, I don't know, overthinking it. I'm fussing so much with the fabric right here. Here we go. So I try and stretch it out evenly. Like, see, I'm going to do this whole thing here. Just do the rest of the back here, and then we're going to stretch it a little more since I'm not serging. I'm going to do my label, I promise. I'm going to do it after. I find just tacking it on there is better because it's so thick. So this is my whole center back to front. I'm stretching all of it equally. Weirdly, it feels like I'm stretching it more on this side. Those rolled edges, man. Am I right? This make me want to hit something sometimes. Double knits don't do that, but they're quite a bit heavier weight. I've already sewn this, so it's nice. I don't have to worry about it. I'm just doing this neckline. I always pre-sew that V. Now, if you're doing a serger, it's the same thing. You need to start your serging at the center front, which feels really kind of probably a little unsettling because you're like, that's the money spot, right? You know, so but you have to because it's your straight edge to go onto the neckline and off. You can start it somewhere else, but you're going to end up going off the edge anyway and then having to come back on. So you might as well just start there. All right, let's see how it looks. Oh, not bad. You can see my ink a little bit. What is that right there? Oh, it's a thread. Oh, my basting stitch. Okay. I'm like, what is that? Oh, you know what? I actually didn't finish sewing it because, oh yeah, no. I'm just going to remove my basting stitch. That's what that is. There we go. There we go. Okay. There you go. Let's see how the whole neckband lays. And I'm going to top stitch it down, I think, so I don't get all that. But that's pretty good. See, it's not really wrinkling. It's a little narrow. Ooh, did I get my seam allowance really bad there? Oh, I did. Look at that. Let's fix that. What the heck? Look at that. Who did that? Let's just hope my, I don't need to change it on the neckline. I just need to change it on the neckband. So let's just adjust it there. That way I can keep the same holes as the ones on the neckband. Fullness on feet dogs. Interesting. Is that like using them as a differential? Yeah, so I'm just, you're seeing how the sausage is made. Where is my mini robot? Right? I thought about that. It would be so funny to have one here. It would be busy. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, so I am stretching as I go so that I can maintain the stretch of the fabric. So maybe that's what the fullness with feet dog, is that what this technique is called? I've never heard it called that. I learned this technique like ages ago. A really long time ago, before sergers weren't even sold to like the public. You know, like if you found a serger sold to the public, it was so astronomically expensive. I was a beginner. I wasn't going to spend that much money on it. All right, so I'm going to do this from the shirt side. And get a narrower seam allowance or on the collar because my collar got too narrow right there. I'm sorry you're not seeing this beautiful tutorial on how to do this, you guys. I should have practiced. I'm going to put the shirt up a little bit so I can try and get into those same holes. There we go. That looks a lot better. Okay, so let me put my label back there, and I'm going to top stitch the neckline. Just going to stick it on there. See that? My seam allowance didn't stay very good back there. We can all see my problem. Using clips probably would have been a good idea. Oh, looser or the tighter on the bottom. Wait, what do you mean? You mean for like the collar? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. I actually am just pulling them equally. But for the neckband, yeah, that you would probably, that's probably how you would kind of do that. I want to trim this down. It looks so bad. I'm going to hide it. All right, I'm just going to top stitch my neckline. I'm going to stretch it a little bit as I go. Sometimes you can use this to correct some of your V-neck, you know, boo-boos. But, uh-oh. Oh, no. 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 Why am I cursed with this V-neck today? Jeez Louise. I need to trim it first. It flipped up on itself. I'm just going to go right into the same stitches. The drama. I'm almost done. I just want to be done. Oh, yeah. I have seen something like that. I didn't know that's what it was called. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it makes sense because you guys hear me talk a lot about how, you know, the feed dogs are pulling and the top is kind of pushing, you know. Just taking advantage of that is probably what you're doing. There we go. Alrighty. I always try and be somewhat prepared for you guys, but not 100% prepared, but maybe I should have been 100% prepared. And I'm going to back this up to my white so I can put my back tack on the white. Just like this. One of the ways you can hide some of your mistakes, you know. The only reason I'm not trimming it before I sew it is because it's a little hard to handle. And I'm trying to make it easier to handle by stitching it down. But it's kind of the chicken and the egg thing, you know? Yeah, I'm making it look harder than it is, I feel like, Sydney. I haven't sewn knits as much lately, and I haven't done this method in a while. And I'm making it look 10 times harder. I also was up till 1 in the morning last night. And then up at 6. I don't know why. All right, so when you get to the, if you're going to do something like this, the top stitch, look, see how I'm kind of making my V-neck nice and relaxed right there? I'm flattening it all out. Put it in the shape you want it to be. Like that. I have these little gray threads there. I thought it was a hole. It's my wearable jammy toile, right? All right. I'm going to trim that under there. Probably on my big table. There we go. Oh, there's my there's my label. See all those little gray threads? Can I iron this pen before I wash it? Like, or will that set it? You know? Oh, yeah, for sleeve caps, yeah. Yeah, you know, Malin, yeah, exactly. Yeah, this used to be something I used to do all the time for clients. When I would do prototypes for them, I would do the V-neck. I had it down pat. Yeah, yeah, exactly. See, I really like having the the one that has more ease on top so I can watch it, but it's so true. It's so much easier to do it the opposite. Yeah. Yeah, I would wait too. Okay, so I'm not going to press that. I have a little wrinkle right here from my like feed dogs pinching it, but I think that looks pretty darn good. So for my yellow ink right there, because I was silly. And then I'm going to trim this down. So it looks a little nicer. Get rid of some of these threads. And, you know, still stretchy. Still stretchy. Get rid of all these threads. So, but I know some of you will probably not do this method with no zigzag and no serger. So, yeah, I might do that. I might do this just on my table over there. Like, maybe I could do it like this. I get a little nervous doing stuff like this, though, for good reason. You know? But if you trim this nice and close, it won't be rolling on itself. I would love to just spend time kind of noodling on other finishing methods on something like this. Dang. Who needs a lesson on seam allowance? Am I making you guys nervous? No, no French seams, it's knit. I just top stitched my side seams, Beverly, but I'm using no zigzag and no serger because I'm a rebel with a cause. That looks pretty good right there. It's really in that looser area back there. My label looks terrible. There we go. All right, so now we have our V-neck and we have our contrast neckband. It'll look better when you can't see that, right? We have our sleeves hemmed, so let's just hem the bottom. And we're done. Thank goodness. Right? Yeah, right. I know. So, yeah, so Beverly, I straight stitched and pulled a little bit, and then I ended up top stitching them, but they're still very, very stretchy. Everything's very stretchy. I ended up faking 2 rows of stitching on faking the cover stitch look on the sleeve hem, but only because I really wanted to anchor down my raw edge since I'm not zigzagging anything, but it's pretty good. We made it, Janice. Okay, let's turn this up. What did I allow? Something like 3/4 or something, right? You can try and iron your knit if it's really giving you a headache because it's rolling or getting away from you, but just make sure you do it, sew it right away. It won't, ironing doesn't really help that much. And I think actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you don't use steam, it works better to get rid of the curl, because I think the steam actually makes it worse. I think I've just discovered that on my own. I didn't learn that from someone, but I'll bet that's what people say, you know. So this is the cross grain of the fabric. It's the stretchiest part of the shirt. So you're going to see the most puckers when I go to do this. Barb, do you think I can like just get the V-neck wet and get rid of that ink right away? So I can go and iron it. I'm a little far away from my edge because it didn't look straight. I kind of want to do a whole V-neck again right now. You know? Yeah, it really does. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to imitate cover stitch. I'm really just doing it so that it's laying nice and flat. And it's such an acceptable hem look. I'm just taking advantage of that. So let's iron that. Does not wet. Continuing on with my mess, I just have like new little piles everywhere. This always cracked Rayanne up because she would be like in the sewing room for hours, and then she'd come out to the area where all our tables were, and I had like 50 projects going all over them. You know? No, you don't have to hem the bottom, Megan. You know, you can even do this and then cut this edge. Have you seen that before where they cut this? You can even do the like pink hanging out, you know, do a contrast. Yeah, I guess it is worth a try, huh? Those rainbows are giving me kind of an optical illusion that my stitching isn't parallel. I mean, it's not perfectly parallel, but there's something about how they're offset that makes them look not parallel at all. Funny how reds and pinks discolor. Same with like green. I kind of want to just press. This totally looks like jammies. I'll just stay away from it. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll just like use like a wet, just water even, right? Yeah, I think the gray neckband was good. It does look a little pajama-y, but that's pretty great. I think maybe I could try it on over this shirt. Over my scout tee. Yeah, there you go, Beverly. That's a good idea. What do you think? I'm gonna see the full. I don't know what my full screen looks like. I mean, it's over my shirt, but it really wants to stick to this this fabric. Oh, the Beatrice. Let's do that. Just let me switch my camera. Where's the camera change thing? Okay, I'll be right back. Let me put it on her. I gotta like put it on her. Oh God, you guys might see how dirty and messy my space is over here. Oh, it's not this one. It's this one here. Not at all jammy, really? You really think so? I don't know if I believe you. Oh, there's so many cords. Yeah, right, Karen? I can see the chat while I'm doing this here. Not sure where my camera's gonna end up, but we'll see. Oh, I need my mouse. Where's the mouse? Don't judge my table, okay? There we go. This is 4 inch shorter. Yeah, so you can see like now why they tell you that the model on the front of the pattern is wearing a size smaller. So I don't have a sleeve on this, like, I mean, an arm on this form, you know? I would say it's kind of a high V-neck, you know? It's pretty loose. There's my nice little pooling at the back. It feels like pajamas. Stop doing that. I really need that dart. Well, I don't know, Claire. Do you think they're kind of big? I mean, it's pretty loose, and it is meant to be a loose shirt. Yeah, it's a high V-neck. Why is it so bright over here? It's a little better. That was cut per pattern. Yeah, did it seem kind of long on me? It looks pajama-y. It felt good, and it was really stretchy. It's kind of embarrassing that I'm grabbing it by the boob to turn it like this. So yeah, remember my cover is a little grabby. The cover I put on here is kind of grabby. And this fabric is super drapey, so I feel like this makes the sleeve look really, you know, long and full. Compare the sleeves to my Scout. Yeah, that's a good point, Barbara. Well, I'm wearing the Scout right now, and I kind of altered this pattern. But, and this is a cap, not a raglan. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, basically, like, yeah, you can tell how long it is just because of the one I'm wearing. Yeah, that's pretty long, huh? Yeah, so there you go. Then you have some good information that if you're really low on fabric, you can probably cut it. So this is 4 inches shorter. This is the size large. I'm about a 39-inch bust, 33-inch waist. Is that right? That's right, right? So that gives you a good indication. And then I'll post a picture of me wearing it without my Scout underneath it too, so. Yeah, it's cute. The gray does look, I think the contrast is really good. Let's zoom in a little bit. Zoom. I move this here, move this here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I asked my husband today. I was like, "Do you know what I'm sewing right now?" And I said it's the Raglan. He goes, "Oh yeah, I saw that." And I said, "Would you wear?" As soon as I asked him, he just gave me this kind of like, he was like, "Are you about to ask me if I would wear that?" He doesn't wear V-necks at all, but he said he does when it's like a little piece of fabric across. So maybe I'll make him one with the little fabric that goes across. So you could do that. I would just lay the pattern out and then, you know, draft in that little, and you sew it. When you sew this first, when you pre-sew that little overlap, I would put that little V there and then just treat the whole thing. So, anyway. Yeah, I think that's pretty cute. This right here, you guys, this is not the pattern. This is me. You guys all have all seen my weird fit issues that I have here. That I have the hips tilting forward. I love anything that accentuates my belly, said nobody ever. All right. All right, well that's great. So next week, what are we doing next week? Are we doing the finally finish it finally finished objects next week, or are we and the mending and stuff? Cool, Allison. Yeah, and it's free, so yeah. Did I miss anything? No. And my jean skirt, I don't know if you guys can even see it, but it's pretty dark, but I love it. I love it because of that shaping through the waist, it doesn't rise up or slip down. It fits so good. It's so comfortable. I'm into it. Like, it's really comfortable. So next week, do we want to do the finally finished object thing, or do we want to do a sewing project? We kind of suck at planning this Me Made May thing. I know it's my fault. So, Nancy, you're converting us all to the marker thing. You know, I used my markers today, and then I think Barbara says she's gotten them too, or is it Beverly? I know, I'm terrible. Should I like get rid of the ink now before I iron it? I didn't iron right here because there's a little bit of ink. It looks wiggly right there. Cool. It looks comfy. Okay, let's do that. Let's do the finally finished objects next week and any mending, and I'm down for that. I've got a lot of things that I want to finish. You like this relaxed mate, right, Louise? That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, I want it to be relaxed. I want to encourage people to sew and not feel like, ugh, all these people and all their me maids. I've got a full-time job. How do you guys make all these me maids? You know, I want it to be more welcoming. So, yeah, Janice, I know, right? Me too. I'm really glad it did. Oh, thanks, Nancy. Ooh, you guys, that's so cool. You've started a trend. Nancy got us all on using the Crayola ultra clean washable markers. I love the Choco Liner a lot, and I've probably had mine for 15 years, and I've used it for a long time. I have the one I use, you see on camera, is a newer one because my other one, I couldn't find the chalk for it. Or what happened with it? I just needed a second one, that's what it was. And, but I've noticed that chalk, the yellow, it stays on my stuff even when I wash it. So that's awesome, Nancy. Yeah, so she keeps talking about this. So I finally found this like pack of, this is the smallest pack I could find. All I could find was like 40 boxes of this, like geared towards teachers and educators. And I'm like, oh, I don't want 40 boxes of those. I don't even have 40 people come to my live stream. I can't even give away that many. So they work really good, supposedly. So this is our first test. I've only been using the yellow and orange, the light colors. But I used the red on something the other day because I could see it on the dark fabric. All right, well, that's it. That's all I have for you today. Okay, cool, Patty. Yeah, I like this. This is Walter's doing. My necklace. Oh, it's a, I'll show it to you. It's really cool. It was made by a woman. We did a collaboration. Well, we didn't collaborate with her. I ordered bobby pins with these handmade succulents. I love succulents. They look real. I mean, you can even see, like, if you look close, like her fingerprint on it. But yeah, it's a succulent. And then we made a ton of bobby pins in like 4 different succulent shapes, this gal did. And they were in this gardening subscription box we did where I made aprons. It's one of my hairs. My hairs are like floss. And garden apron and a garden bucket and some seeds. Oh yeah, and we did those seed bombs in rainbow colors. And so what I usually would do is we would make a product and then we would look for compatible things to put in it that weren't sewing related. And I would look at Etsy and all kinds of handmade places and just kind of do it with other artists. And we would pay the price, you know, like I would say, ask if they could do wholesale. And even not, I would still do it as long as we could afford it in our box. So, but it was really cool. They were really cool. They just put it on backwards. Oh. Yeah, so. Oh, you're welcome, Karen. Thank you. Yeah. Make more goodies. You got a couple items finished. Nice. You would never do it without scribbling on scrap. Oh, dang it. Well, I did. Nice, Nancy. That's awesome. All right, you guys. Well, I'll see you Wednesday. And yeah, we'll just pitch it as the like mending, finally finished object, stuff like that. And then we'll come up with our next project probably the week after that. What's the week after that? Is Mother's Day week, right? The week after that I'll probably do a dress that I want. Yeah, me too, Barbara. So cool. Whatever. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. If you're new here, welcome. I haven't even looked to see how many people are here today, but welcome. I know it's, Me Made May, and I know that can be a little bit overwhelming for a lot of folks that are new to sewing and stuff, to see all these people like posting all the things that they've made. And that isn't the traditional challenge of Me Made May. It is not to post a picture of yourself wearing something you made every day. It's really just, you just make your own personal pledge in what you want to do. This month, last year my pledge was to make myself a t-shirt that, a knit t-shirt pattern that I could go to and make t-shirts for myself because I was tired of buying them from the store really cheap and they would fall apart. So that was my pledge last year and I did it. It took me all a month to kind of get back around to it, I think. And then this year, my goal is to make a dress for myself or two, maybe the Kalispell dress or the Myosotis dress, or both, because it's also my birthday month, so I always make myself something. And then for the stream, my goal is really, as goofy as it sounds, I just really want this to be a place where people feel like they can feel comfortable sewing. You know, that's all. I just want people to not feel how that trepidation that comes with, being overwhelmed by using a machine, figuring out fabric, figuring out the fit, and learning how to sew a pattern. There's just so many variables. So, oh, that's cool. Oh, Nancy, that's so funny that your bank is really harassing you. You're so sweet. Don't worry about it. Really. I actually, just so you know, I don't get notifications about that. I have to go and look if I want, and I don't because honestly, it's none of my business with people, to see if they all paid or something. I never look at that. It's just how it is. I'm very appreciative of it, and I'm realizing I need to make some goals with that so that I can at least, cover everything to keep this going. So, your daughter turns 19 next week. Nice. I know they're really cool. 19. That's awesome. My daughter's half birthday is on my birthday, which is kind of fun. All right, guys, have a great weekend. All right. And don't forget Mother's Day is a week from the Sunday. Just in case any of you need to do projects, because I do. And then I'll see you guys Wednesday for all of the projects we're going to all finish this week, right? Yeah. Maybe I'll even do one of my quilt squares. Oh, I don't know if you guys want to watch me do those. Oof. The thinking cap is on during that. No, Nancy, I would never think that. Oh my gosh. Oh man. You guys are crack me up. Bye, you guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Wait, where's my thingy? I always do this.